Let me ask you something. Have you ever stood on your own porch and watched a so-called community leader lock your 2-year-old behind a door you didn't install, then tell you with a straight face it's not kidnapping, it's a corrective measure? Yeah, that happened. President of the High Glen Hollow HOA, clipboard in hand, her voice icy enough to chill the air. She's being held to teach you both the rules. Then click. Lights off, lock engaged. My daughter's silhouette vanished behind frosted glass. I don't care how many times you read the rule book. Nothing prepares you for the sound of a smart lock sealing your kid away. Especially when that keypad flashes a code I haven't seen since the government blacklisted that firmware for child protection cases. And trust me, I helped write the code that made it illegal. Let me back up a sec because none of this started with a hostage situation. It started with a citation delivered like a medieval summons, folded thick, HO seal pressed in the corner, no knock, no warning. Minor endangerment via unsupervised access to restricted terrain. With a grainy photo of my little girl walking barefoot by the creek, popsicle in hand, right by the bench her mother carved before cancer took her. The violation cited Clause 17b. Children under 5 can't be in buffer zones without shoes and adult supervision. No one asked about our walks, or the quiet we found after long days, or what that bench meant to us. They just stamped my mailbox with accusations and moved on. I tried ignoring it, hoped she'd get bored. I was wrong. A couple days later I came home and saw the playground camera was gone. Just a wire dangling where I'd installed it myself. Back when we trusted our neighbors to watch the kids, not spy on them. The feed had been cut at the exact hour we were down at the creek, and then every camera on the green belt went dark, one after another, all from an override inside the HOA system. The signature on the logs wasn't familiar. Until I realized it was Lenora's. She didn't just flag me. She erased the proof we were ever there. She tried to frame my daughter, a 2-year-old, for endangering the neighborhood. I walked the neighborhood, looking for answers. People waved, some avoided my eye. But Ephraim, old soldier's shoulders and dirt on his hands from the community garden, just nodded. Policy's bigger than it used to be, he muttered, eyes on the hydrangeas. Safety clauses don't need much debate these days. I asked if he agreed, but he just kept digging. I left with more questions than before, but his silence was the first crack. Someone else knew this was about power, not safety. A few days later, Ephraim showed up at my door, clipboard rolled up, blueprint, nerves jangling. Claimed he was here for a utility inspection. We both knew that was nonsense. He carried blueprints for the tech upgrades, the same kind Lenora used to justify spending on locks and cameras, most of them blacklisted for civilian use. He pointed out the serial number, same as the lock trapping my daughter. He'd kept quiet too long, he said, but after she cut the cameras, he knew where this was heading. You're the only one who'll know what to do, he told me, voice thin. I dusted off my old field kit from the days before grief and parenthood and HOA politics. Diagnostic drives, encrypted keys, a toolkit for tracing digital fingerprints. Ephraim knew my past: cybercrime, child protection, surveillance law. My job had been to plant flags in code, tripwires that caught predators before they could vanish. The lock trapping Emery was on the list. All I needed was proof. Ephraim handed it to me. If Lenora found out he'd helped, he was finished. I promised she wouldn't, not yet. He left and I started piecing the puzzle together. The next morning, a flyer hit my mailbox, glossy, official. Community Safety Preparedness Demonstration, mandatory attendance for all residents with minor children. Featuring new protocols for rapid separation and tiered response modeling. The subtext: bring your kid, watch us flex control. People whispered about insurance compliance, warnings, even door-to-door reminders. Some said they were told to bring their children for observation. Emery had a cold. On any other Saturday I'd keep her home, but this was different. The amphitheater was dressed up like a FEMA drill. Folding chairs, orange cones, a white tent with refreshments, and in the center 2 lock boxes and a live feed flickering on the monitor. Lenora in powder blue pantsuit, fake smile, waving at my daughter, not at me. The crowd filtered in. Strollers, parents, a few retirees craving drama. The board sat in a row under the tent, except Ephraim. His seat stayed empty. Lenora took the mic. Today's demonstration is about responsibility and what it takes to keep our youngest residents safe. She gestured to a tall man in a safety vest. No badge, no credentials. Mr. Galar, our preparedness advisor, will walk us through the new containment model. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. At Tier 3, Lenora called me out. Mr. Voss, would you assist? Just a demonstration. Please bring your daughter to the line. My jaw locked. We're not participating. It's not optional. Yes, it is, I shot back. She stepped closer. Your prior infractions make you the ideal candidate. You'll help us understand early intervention. She crouched, arms open, and called Emery by name. My daughter hesitated, looked up, eyes wide. I shook my head. Lenora moved fast, scooped her up, and retreated down the path to the guest house, locking the door behind her as the crowd gasped. I didn't run. Running would have made me the aggressor. Cameras everywhere, all feeding back to Lenora's private server. I walked slow, teeth grinding, to the door. No window, just frosted glass and a keypad pulsing amber. My palm against the panel, familiar hum. Not just any lock, but a custom rig, one I helped blacklist. I pulled out my phone, ran the trace. There it was. Beacon trace 209, blacklisted firmware, still calling home. I activated the capture node, matched the signature, saw the alert. Child presence locked down live. My software twisted against me. Against her. I routed the signal to the federal node, uploaded proof, encrypted everything. DHS would see the ping, and this time they'd have to act. I backed away from the guest house, found a vantage point by the garden, needed to see who came and went, keep the camera feeds rolling. Needed to know if the system I built to protect kids would actually work when the monster was wearing a pantsuit and wielding a clipboard. Didn't sleep that night. Just sat on the bench my wife carved, screen brightness down, watching the motion log flicker. 3 times, tiny blips, each one a punch to my gut. The signal was received, confirmed, escalated, no DHS van yet, but it was coming. Lenora didn't return. Maybe she thought I'd back down. She was wrong. Next morning, I went to the HOA maintenance shed, the real control center disguised as a utility building. Years ago, I helped wire it. Inside. Server lights blinking, air thick with dust and old secrets. My credentials still worked, buried under an old override. Found what I needed, manual firmware patch tied to Galar, the fake advisor. No city employee record for him. Lenora had brought in a private contractor to rig the whole system. I grabbed the logs, the photos, everything, and shut it all down. Servers, lights, irrigation, Lenora's precious vanity feed. 18 hours my daughter was in that room. I heard no crying, just her breathing through the mic, softer and softer. That kind of silence is worse than screaming. I walked home, hands shaking, not from fear but from clarity. I knew what had to come next. This wasn't about evidence anymore. This was about making the truth so loud no one could ignore it. Ephraim showed up just before sunset, face drawn, holding a flash drive. Backup of everything, vote history, firmware logs, her forgeries. He dropped it on my table. You've had this? I asked. Didn't think she'd actually use it, he replied. Thought it was for show. That she wanted to scare you. She didn't scare me, I said. She took my daughter. He slumped in the chair, jacket draped over his knees, like the weight of it all was finally crushing him. 7 years on this board, he muttered. Watched it go from potlucks to drills and biometric tags on toddlers. You helped build it, I said, not as blame, just truth. He nodded. Lenora always wanted obedience, not safety. I plugged in the flash drive, saw the forged signatures, the blacklisted firmware orders, the falsified votes. She was planning to spin the whole thing, say I'd requested the protocol, that the child was observed for safety. I couldn't let her rewrite history. I bundled all the evidence, vote fraud, illegal firmware, the live trace of my daughter still locked inside. Encrypted it with my old DHS clearance, set it to trigger just as the board meeting began, and routed the backup stream to the public dashboard, so every resident logging in would see what was really happening. Morning came. I walked the trail to the clubhouse, cold air biting, heart pounding. Didn't go in, just waited by the window. The meeting started. Lenora tried to paint the containment as a routine safety drill, voice calm, face unreadable. Ephraim arrived with an envelope of documents. At 7:03 a.m. the stream switched. A thermal map appeared on every resident's screen. My daughter, curled on the guest house floor, biometric overlay pulsing. Parental consent not found. Ephraim stood up, voice steady. The guest house is not a certified observation structure. The firmware is blacklisted. Clause 17B was never approved. Our votes were forged. Lenora tried to object, but the feed kept rolling. Logs override entries, a still image of her lifting my daughter during the drill. Then 3 knocks at the door. 2 men and a woman in black jackets, badges swinging. Lenora Mavic? We're with the Office of Cybercrime Enforcement and Juvenile Protection, acting under DHS mandate. They didn't wait for a speech. You'll speak after the child is secured. The agents moved fast, unlocking the guest house. The feed stayed live. My daughter, blinking confused, was carried out, wrapped in foil, safe. The room was silent, shock, then relief, then anger. Vice President James Broome motioned to suspend the board, effective immediately. No one argued. The guest house was demolished within a week. No debate, just action. Locks and keypads hauled out under DHS supervision. Every camera reinstalled under transparent policy. Every override dismantled. The news spread national, not just local. They called it the Mavic Clause, when the state started drafting laws to ban HOA surveillance without consent. Lenora pleaded guilty. Unlawful surveillance, falsification, child endangerment. She'll never sit on a board again. Me? I walk the green belt with Emery every morning. She doesn't flinch at the bench anymore. She climbs up like it's her throne. We don't talk about what happened, but every time I see the sunlight through the trees, every time I hear that old keypad in my nightmares, I remember. You don't beat people like Lenora by arguing. You beat them by recording, broadcasting, and showing everyone exactly what they are. So if you made it this far, ask yourself, who's really watching your neighborhood? And when the day comes, will anyone have the guts to make the signal too loud to ignore? Let me know in the comments, what would you have done? Where's the line between safety and control? Share your own stories, because trust me, there are more out there. And subscribe, because you haven't heard the last of what these people are capable of. 9.